Let me see how you will lure men again, you witch. The wicked stepmother Tolani cursed wickedly as she cut her stepdaughter's hair. In a very beautiful and peaceful town named Ilututu, meaning New Town, there lived a man who was popularly known as Chief Adebite. He was a respected man who lived in a very beautiful compound where architectural designs were crafted out of woods and block, and he was married to a beautiful wife named Tolani and had two daughters named Ifemi and Adetola. However, life was very different for the two beautiful daughters. Ifemi, the daughter from his late first wife, had grown up in the house since her mother died at childbirth, and she was a very beautiful 19-year-old lady. She was quiet, hardworking, and was always in motion, doing something or another. Every morning, she swept the wild compound, cleaned the rooms, split firewood, fetched water, washed everyone's clothes, and cooked every meal that were eaten in the house. She was always working, and her stepmother Tolani barely spoke to her without a command or insult. Why are you still mopping that place, you fool? Tolani snapped one morning. Do you want guests to enter and sleep, you dummy? She shouted angrily. I will finish now, Ifemi replied, hastening up. After that, go and grind pepper, wash the bed sheets, and start cooking before Adetola wakes up. Tolani's voice followed her down the corridor. And don't forget to scrub the back of all the pots, sweep the empty rooms, and get firewood after. I prefer meals prepared with firewood. Yes, ma, Ifemi answered to every of her command. Her 18-year-old stepsister, Adetola, the chief youngest, did nothing. She was admired for her beauty across the town, and her parents treated her like royalty. She dressed well, kept a circle of fancy friends, and was quite popular among many. She also hated Ifemi. You are disgusting, she would always tell her. Do not stand near my room. Ew, she would always say. Ifemi was always quiet because she didn't know what it felt like to be praised, held, or protected. She never ate with the family or went to anywhere with them. She was always alone, and her room, which was a small pantry in the house, was used to store lots of rubbish that were not needed. She was always nursing wounds that were from the physical abuse that Tolani had melted on her whenever she did the smallest mistakes. Her father, Chief Adegbite, never laid a hand on Ifemi, but he never stopped when his wife or second daughter did either. Whenever she served his food, he would eat in silence and barely hold a conversation with her. Whenever Tolani punished Ifemi, he never asked why or never stopped her either. Ifemi never begged whenever she was being punished for the most simplest mistake because it would only increase the punishment. But she prayed desperately in her heart for a way out because she knew she could never continue her life forever as the maid of the house. As the girls grew into their 20s, Adetola's beauty only increased, causing suitors with good names, good jobs, and good families to flood their compound. Tolani always smiled at them with pride, promising they would find the right match soon because Adetola usually rejected most of them harshly because none of the guys in the town were good enough for her. She wanted better. Meanwhile, Ifemi's own chances at love were quietly destroyed because anytime someone showed an interest, Tolani would turn them away disgracefully. She is not ready, she would say with anger. Don't bring nonsense and jargons to my door. She will lash at them with their gifts. She has no future with you, so stay away from her. If not, I will make sure you rot in prison. She would threaten them. Ifemi soon stopped hoping in her heart that something would change because all her love interests started to run away from her. But deep in her heart, she still prayed silently every night that someone would truly see her and take her far away from her father's torturous home. When Tolani noticed that Ifemi didn't seem to have anyone to come for her anymore, she tried to force her towards one of the farm laborers, a 40-year-old man who worked for Chief and had two wives already. He will marry you quickly as his third wife, she advised her. It is better than aging alone. I don't want that, Ifemi said quietly. I would rather be alone. It made Tolani's face mask into a deep frown as she spat. You think someone important will marry you? You are not even my daughter, don't be foolish, she lashed. Tolani, who had been trying so hard, eventually joined a prestigious women association in the city who were women with wealth and well-connected children. And through them, after meetings and heavy donations to the society, pretending like she was all that, she found the right and perfect match for Adetola. His name was Ademola, and he was the only son of a retired judge and a respected woman in the town. Ademola was everything a mother dreamed of. He was tall, calm, well-spoken, good-looking, rich, and responsible. He worked in one of the biggest finance companies in the city and was usually at home to visit his mother a lot of times. However, he wasn't excited about being matched when she informed him about Tolani's daughter. I don't need help finding someone, he told his mother, Adeshewa. You have not even seen her yet. Meet her first, and if you don't like her, I won't force it, Adeshewa told him. Ademola agreed reluctantly and promised his mother to give it a shot. When he visited Chief Adegbite's home, he was welcomed with warmth. The food was delicious, the table was beautifully set, and Adetola was dressed in her finest. She spoke softly, smiled sweetly, and tried her best to impress. But Ademola felt something was off. Every conversation felt too perfect, as if it were practiced, and Adetola didn't seem relaxed at all. She didn't talk about herself with honesty, and it was as if she only said what sounded right. Every visit to their house felt like a performance, and she usually talked about how her hobbies was cooking, reading, and homemaking. Ademola tried to shake the uneasiness of their relationship, but everything continued to feel so unsettling to him because he had always wanted a best friend in a partner. They met at other places she wanted to go and went on a few dates because his mother kept trying to convince him that Adetola was not so bad. Soon, people began to talk about how they were engaged already, and Ademola somehow hated the sound of that because he didn't feel any emotional connection with Adetola. One afternoon, Ademola showed up early at the Adegbite's compound prior to the agreed time to meet with Adetola that evening because he had a file to drop off for Chief Adegbite from work on his way home. When he arrived, the gate was open, but the compound was quiet and nobody came to greet him as usual. He stepped inside, wondering where everyone had gone and to whom he would give the files to as he moved around, greeting to see if anyone would answer. Walking to the backyard, he sighted a girl he had never seen before. She was wearing a tattered gown and she looked so tired already while sweating as she stirred food on a large pot on a firewood. She stood up to quickly complete the floor she was sweeping and then instantly began peeling some yams almost immediately. It also seemed like there was a heap of clothes which someone was still washing in the corner of the backyard. The lady didn't rest for a moment. Ademola watched Ifemi quietly as she multitasked endlessly, but she didn't see him, and he wondered who she was and why he had never seen her before. Maybe she was a maid, he wondered. Then, from a hallway, he heard a familiar voice. Have you started cooking, you dimwit? Adetola shouted. Yes, I am already doing that, Ifemi answered quickly. The living room is dirty too. Go and clean. Adetola yelled again. I have cleaned it this morning, Ifemi told her. Shut up! Adetola struck Ifemi on the cheek before she even realized, and Ademola's eyes almost popped from where he was standing, witnessing what had happened. I have told you never to counter whatever I say again, Ademola yelled angrily. I am sorry, Ifemi begged with tears in her eyes as she clutched to her cheek, which was still burning hot. And do not touch or taste out of the food. If I see a spoon missing, you will go on an automatic hunger strike, Adetola warned. Ademola's jaws dropped at what he had just heard and witnessed as his eyes widened in shock. He could not believe what he had just heard. Quickly, he stepped back and quietly turned to leave without saying a word, his heart heavily burdened. Hours later, he returned again at the agreed time to their house, and everywhere was polished as usual. Sumptuous dishes were served on the table, and Adetola was dressed her best. This time, Ademola decided to engage Adetola in a meaningful conversation, asking her about her family and if anyone else lived with them. But Adetola answered half-heartedly. Ademola didn't speak about what he saw to her and instead went to do a private background check. He spoke to some people in the town and then one of their neighbors, which made the truth come out that Ifemi, the lady he had seen, wasn't a maid, but was the chief's daughter from his first wife who was dead. He heard more than he bargained for, that even if the family pretended and acted like all was well, it was obvious that Ifemi was the maid. He heard that they usually mistreated, beat her without giving her food sometimes as punishment, and that she was the one who worked endlessly in the house till midnight every day. Ademola was stunned beyond his bones and could not imagine marrying into their family. He made up his mind and stopped going to Shiv's house because he couldn't even believe the cruelty. His mother, who thought she would soon start planning a wedding, asked him why he stopped going to Shiv's house, but he gave no reason. Both Tolani and Adetola tried to reach out to Ademola to ask the reason for his sudden withdrawal, but he didn't give them audience either, claiming he was busy. He returned to his work and just decided to forgive and forget everything. Weeks passed and life moved on. Ifemi stayed busy as always, while Adetola continued to cry in her room and transfer aggression to poor Ifemi because she was already in love with Ademola and had hoped to get married to him. One random morning, while walking through the local market to get fruits before work, Ademola sighted an unexpected person. It was Ifemi, the lady he had seen at the chief's house, and she was standing near a pepper store holding a small basket and bargaining gently with the seller about a price. She looked sickly than he had last seen her, but seeing her outside the Adegbite's house made her look different. He also heard her voice as she spoke to the seller, which was something different from what he thought she would sound like because her voice was surprisingly mellifluous. About to leave and go to where he could buy the fruits he had come for, he was further taken aback by her lips, which stretched into a smile as soon as the seller agreed to sell for her at the price she wanted. He then stepped closer. "Ifemi," he called. She turned, her brow jumping into a high arc of astonishment, just to see the man that Adetola had been crying over for days. She had seen him before when she peeped in curiosity during his visits and had prayed he would just marry Adetola and take her away so that she would have peace. "Good morning, sir," Ifemi greeted. "Please call me Ademola," he said. "I'm sorry I can't," she hesitated. Ademola offered to work with Ifemi and she instantly turned down his offer because she was scared that someone would see and tell Tolani. She could not risk being beaten again. However, Ademola took the call and told her to show him the direction of some place he didn't know, and reluctantly, Ifemi decided to take him there as they walked together through the market. Ademola struck up a conversation with her intelligently, and soon they began talking about how crowded the road was, how expensive tomato had become, and how hard it was to find peace in noisy places. That became the first of many unexpected meetings. Ademola was stunned at how intelligent Adetola sounded, and unconsciously he became drawn to her words as well as the things that she had to say. Sometimes, he usually intentionally passed by the market just to see if Ifemi was there, and other times he would find her running an errand from the market. He began to engage with her more as their conversations grew longer, and she was curious to know why he and Adetola were not seeing one another anymore. But he told her the truth that it was an arranged meeting and that he would naturally like to meet the lady himself. She would ask about his work, and he asked about her dreams aside living in her father's house. Then she mentioned fashion designing. One evening, it began to drizzle in the town and everyone was trying to scamper around for shelter. But Adetola insisted that Ifemi went out in that rain to purchase the favorite snack she had been craving. Left with no choice, Ifemi had to run to go and get it, but rain caught up with her and she was beaten heavily before she could even find a place to stay. The rain poured at her, soaking her from head to toe as she stood under a shed near the roadside, her clothes clinging to her skin, her hair dripping cold water down her back. Her slippers were muddy and dirty, and her hands were shaking from the cold. Ademola was driving home at that time and was trying to navigate his car around when he suddenly sighted her with the headlights of his car. Ifemi didn't notice the black car at first, not until he slowed down and then stopped just across from where she stood. The door opened and a man stepped out holding an umbrella. Her heart skipped when she saw who it was. "Sir," she whispered, too surprised to even hide her face. "Ifemi," Ademola said as he placed the umbrella over her. "What are you doing here, loud like this?" he questioned. Ifemi looked away, not knowing what to say. "It is them again, isn't it?" Ademola asked, already sure of the answer. But before Ifemi could even respond, he placed the umbrella over her, touching her arm slightly. "Come to the car," he said. "You can't stay like this." Ifemi hesitated, knowing that she really could not, but Ademola didn't let go. He walked her to the car, opened the door, and helped her in gently as the warmth inside the car made her shiver even more. He reached to the back seat, brought out a small towel, and passed it to her. "It is one of my workout towels. Use it, please," he said. Ifemi wiped her face and arms slowly, with her eyes trying hard not to look at him, but he turned again and grabbed a folded t-shirt and joggers as he gave her. "You can change into this," he said, seeing how wet she was. Ifemi shook her head quickly, fear flashing in her eyes. "I can't. They will ask where I got it from," she said in a low voice. "No one will see you for now," he retorted gently. "We will dry your dress, and you will change back when you are dried as well," he told her. Ifemi looked down at the clothes again, her fingers clenching the towel, unsure of what to say or do, but he urged her. He started the car and drove in the rain through the road until they got to a small neat laundry shop with a dryer. He spoke to the woman at the counter, who helped Ifemi inside, and soon her dress was turning inside the dryer while she sat in his warm clothes as he paid for the service. From there, he took her to a peaceful restaurant just outside the town, which was the kind of place people from her area wouldn't visit, and he told her to order anything that she would like to eat. Confused because she had never gotten anything to eat because she was never involved in the family's eat-out, Ifemi stared at him with uncertainty, and he just took the cue to order whatever was nice for her. Then he watched her with calm eyes as she began to eat. Ifemi could feel Ademola's gaze on her as she ate the nicest delicacy she hadn't eaten before, and it caused her heart to beat fast. When the rain stopped and her dress was dry, she changed back in the restaurant's bedroom, folded his clothes carefully, and walked back to the car, still feeling his eyes on her even when he said nothing. "Would you not like to leave the house?" Ademola finally asked her, breaking the silence in the car as he drove. "Someday, if it's ever possible. I would definitely love to," she answered with a sad smile. "Please drop me at that junction," she said as they got closer to her house. As he pulled the car in, ready to park, Ifemi reached for the door handle and wanted to alight, but suddenly Ademola touched her hands and she immediately looked up. Her heart began to beat so fast and she didn't know why, but she could feel the rhythm of her heart beating against her chest. She knew he was watching her and staring at her, but she couldn't look at him. She couldn't meet his eyes. Ademola felt the strange pull too. He didn't understand why, but the moment Ifemi entered his car earlier, something in him had shifted, and now sitting beside her in the car, he didn't want to let go of her hand, but he didn't say anything. Ifemi slowly pulled her hand back, her heart still beating, as if trying to keep herself calm. "I will go now," she whispered. Ademola nodded, still silent, as she opened the door, stepped down, and walked away quickly. As he watched her go, he wondered why she affected him like that, and why her presence made his heart beat faster than usual. Ifemi thought of Ademola the entire night and was unable to sleep. Tolani and her daughter Adetola began to notice something strange, that Ifemi, who used to move like a shadow in the house, always quiet and tired from walking endlessly, now always had a smile. Even when she swept the compound or fetched water, there was a bright light in her heart, and she was always singing. She was still doing the same work, still sleeping on the same mat, still eating last, and yet something about her had changed. "She's smiling too much these days," Tolani said one afternoon, narrowing her eyes and talking to her daughter. "Maybe she's finally running mad," Adetola replied, scoffing. But it didn't end there. One morning, as the daughter and mother went to a dress shop to have a new customized cloth made for Adetola, a neighbor saw them and said, "I saw Ifemi the other day. She was with a fine man from down. The one with the black car, Ademola Abi." The cloth Adetola was holding dropped from her hand as she stared in shock. "What did you say?" she asked, shocked to her bones. The woman smiled, unaware of the storm she had started. "She was inside his car, oh. He even held her umbrella, such a fine man. I thought it was your—" That night, thunder fell on Ifemi's head. Tolani and Adetola beat her until her skin burned, dragging her by the hair and throwing her to the floor and calling her names that no girl should ever hear. "You want to snatch my man," Adetola screamed, slapping her again. "You ungrateful witch," Tolani added, "after all I've done for you." They locked her up, gave her no food, and when they were tired of beating her, they did the worst thing yet. They cut her hair. They cut the thick, black, beautiful hair she had cared for since childhood and shaved it all off completely. As the hair dropped to the ground, Ifemi sat shaking, tears running down her cheeks, her voice broken from crying. She touched her head gently and wept like her heart had left her chest. "Let me see how you want to seduce men now," Adetola laughed at her. In the days that followed, Ifemi stopped going to the market during the day and only in the evenings, as she stayed indoors, wearing scarves and speaking to no one. Ademola noticed. He would drive to the market like before, searching the crowd with his eyes, but he never saw her. At first, he thought maybe she was sick, and then he started to worry because something didn't feel right. However, it was the week of his mother's birthday, and a lot of women and ladies were invited to the party that was hosted to celebrate it, including Tolani and Adetola, who came dressed in very expensive outfits. During the party, Adetola kept following Ademola around, smiling at him like nothing had happened, but he could not smile back at her because he was not pleased to see her. His heart was not at the party, and his heart kept searching every face in the party, hoping to see someone else. "Where is she?" he whispered to himself, bothered that she didn't come with them. Unable to stay because he was so bothered, he left the party quietly, got into his car and drove straight to Shiv house to look for her. He walked through the gate, his heart beating fast, unsure of what he would find, and there he saw Ifemi. She was sitting in a corner and sorting a big basket of vegetables. Sensing a presence, Ifemi looked up and froze when she saw him, her bald head bare in front of him. Ademola stood still as his eyes widened in shock, his heart breaking when he saw what had happened. "Ifemi, He called, his voice barely a whisper, visibly shaking. But Ifemi turned and ran into the house before he could even take another step, her hands trying to cover her head and tears already falling from her eyes. She was mortified. Ademola stood there, still shocked, his hands clenched by his sides, his heart hurt by what he had just seen. Feeling so bad, he didn't realize when tears dropped from his eyes because his heart broke because of what they've done to her. He was sad that he was not in time for her. When he realized that she could not come out to see him, he got back into his car with a heavy heart full of fire as he returned home. That night after the party, he told his mom that he had found the woman he wanted to marry. Is it Adetola? Her eyes lighted. I noticed you two at the party today, she smiled. He shook his head. No, it is Ifemi. His mother was silent. The first daughter? She questioned. Yes. She looked at him for a long time, asking, Does she make you happy? Yes, she gives me peace, Ademola answered. Then go ahead. I'll give you my blessings. When the news reached Shiv household, the house nearly turned upside down. What? Tolani screamed. Adetola threw a glass against the wall. That girl, after everything, she screamed, almost going berserk. He must be mad, Tolani hissed. She has bewitched him. They continued to clamor when they heard what was going to happen. Ademola came for Ifemi's hand in marriage and didn't hide it. He told everyone clearly that Ifemi was the one his heart chose and not Adetola. When Ifemi heard it, she couldn't believe either. She just sat quietly in her room with her body shaking in shock. She could never imagine that someone like Ademola could love her. Though she was deeply attracted to him, so intensely already, she thought the fleeting feeling would pass away. She would never have imagined he would ask to marry her with her vulnerability, weakness, and all. You are the one I want, he said to her gently. Not because I pity you, but because you are strong and beautiful, and I truly love you, he told her. Ifemi looked at him with tears in her eyes. I don't have anything, her voice trembled as she whispered. You are all that matters, Ademola said. I want you to know that you are beautiful in every way, Ifemi, and you are just okay the way you are. Tolani and Adetola panicked because their plan had failed and they were about to lose it in shock because the girl they treated like nothing was becoming the wife of the same man Adetola wanted. That night, Tolani called her cousin from another town for a request and two strange men arrived that night as she gave them a simple job. Pick the girl up tomorrow when I open her room in the night. Take her far away to where no one can find her forever. But not everything goes as planned. A young boy who used to work at the back of their house overheard them, and it was the same boy who sometimes helped Ifemi to carry firewood. The next day, he went straight to Ademola's house and waited till he came out of the house to inform him. They want to take her, he cried. Tonight. Ademola acted fast and with the help of two local vigilantes and a few elders who respected his mother, they planned and arrived just as the men were approaching Ifemi's open window. What is going on here? One of the elders demanded. The men ran, but they were caught and the truth was exposed immediately. Tolani and Adetola were summoned to the chief's presence and the embarrassment spread like wildfire. Even the chief was ashamed and shaken because he could not speak for them. Take them away for questioning, one of the elders in the town ordered. This is not a family matter anymore. They will face the consequences of their sins and wish they never did this. Ifemi sat quietly on the bench outside the house the next day when she heard what almost happened, still trembling from the fear as Ademola came to sit beside her. You are safe now, he said. I didn't know anyone would care this much, Ademola, she whispered. I will always care, he said. And I love you, Ifemi. He smiled. I love you beyond words too, Ademola. Ifemi gushed. Ademola took Ifemi away from the house where pain lived and brought her into the peace of his abode. His mother welcomed her with so much love and kindness. Ifemi began to breathe again and her hair began to grow. She began to dress in beautiful clothes, wear fine necklaces, shining bangles, soft perfumes, shoes, bags, and everything her hands had never touched, even if her father had the ability to give them all to her. Ademola also helped her enroll in one of the biggest fashion designing shops in the city, where she learned quickly and grew faster than anyone could imagine. They traveled around the world together, having the best fun, and Ademola got to see the bright sides of Ifemi that he had never seen before. Spending time together, he soon realized that he would have missed seeing the right person for him if he had decided to be so blinded by conspiracies and lies. Ifemi graduated at the top of her class from the fashion school she went and was awarded beautifully. And soon, she and Ademola got married in the most beautiful place ever, and Ademola's mom invited tons of people to witness the beautiful day. Few years passed and Ifemi became one of the most successful and wealthy fashion designers in the city, where she was praised for her skill, beauty, and grace. And every time Ademola looked at her, he still saw the same girl who stood under the rain that day and stole his heart without even trying. And for the first time in his life, he was glad he chose her. And for the first time in Ifemi's life, she woke up every morning with joy in her chest and her name spoken with love. They soon increased to a family of 4 and lived happily ever after.